The book I want to talk about today is Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I'm shocked I haven't talked about it earlier because this book was very, very influential, especially at a time when I was first starting off on this journey, when I was first considering entrepreneurship, when I was first thinking about all these ideals, and this really shaped a lot of what I'm doing right now, and that's why I love this book so much. And to take you back for a second, like when I picked up this book, I was of the mind that like you need a job to be successful. You need a career, you need a degree, you need all these fancy titles and all these fancy things, a 401k, like that's what wealth comes from. That's the stability, that's all of these things. But like the truth is like you've been sold a bad sale of goods. Like the systems that we think are there to help us are really profiting other people. Like 401ks profit the financial institutions much more than they profit the individuals. And it's frustrating that we think all these things are stable, but all it takes is a bad economy. All it takes is a bad president, a war, or something crazy to happen, and there goes your savings in the blink of an eye. And it's like, I don't want to rely on those things. I want to be my own man. I want to be my own person. But at the time, I was wrapped up in all these ideas because of my upbringing, because of my family, and because of the people around me. And it was frustrating because like I would sit in an office. You know what? I was like 21, 22 at the time. I would sit in an office. I would go to work. I would do all these different jobs, and like I never liked any of them. None of them ever made me happy. None of them ever inspired me or made me feel like I was doing anything of value. And the truth is like I'd much rather just be on my own. I'd much rather make a lot less money and feel like I'm doing something worthwhile. Feel like I'm really chasing a passion, chasing a career, chasing anything. But at the time, I didn't know there was another solution. At the time, I thought I was going to be unhappy for the next 40 years, next 50 years. Maybe I get lucky and make enough money to make it all worth it to sacrifice day in, day out, sitting behind a desk, sitting behind a computer, crunching numbers, doing all these things. And like, I'm so happy I found this book because this book is all about the other path, the real path to creating wealth, which is simply by becoming an entrepreneur, by creating a business, by having cash flow, and then somehow finding a way to lower your taxes on the cash flow, to buy assets that are giving you money, giving you cash flow, doing all of these things that you can also count off depreciation off of, and it's almost like a tax shelter. Like there are a million different solutions once you get that initial cash flow going, but it's all about getting that. And that's what this book really goes to show. Like everything we view success on, like all of the degrees, all of the titles, all of the things that you have on your resume, they mean nothing if you're still unhappy, if you're not doing something that you really want to do. And it sucks because we evaluate success on how much money I make, my title, my degrees, all of these things, but it's like the vast majority of people with college degrees are still in debt. The vast majority of people with college degrees are going to be paying off their loans for the next 20 years, and it's like, was that really worth it? Was it really what you thought it would be? Like, is it really the path to financial freedom, sitting in an office doing all these things? Like, maybe it is. Maybe you got a great job. Maybe you do all these things, and I'm not here to discourage you if you really think that's your path. But for me, that book, it did wonders. It made me feel like, okay, there's another option, and it's so interesting. And a few principles from the book that I want to share is that it's not about the degree. It's not about the title. It's not about anything aside from, were you taught to get a job and work for someone else, or are you going to strut out on your own? Are you going to become your own person? Are you going to become your own boss and learn how to make a business? And do you want to reap what you sow? Do you want to eat what you bring back to the table, or do you want to rely on someone else? And for me, I don't want to rely on anybody else. So I have to do the other path. I have to do the entrepreneurship, and it's very, very interesting. And a big portion of this book also goes into how Robert Kiyosaki really went into, I don't know if that's the right word, like he utilizes the credit system to the absolute benefit. So what he really does is he buys real estate, then as you're building up that principal, as you're building up that equity, you can take out a loan on that equity that you have in that house and buy a bunch of other houses and then spread out all of those debts, but you're getting enough cash flow back so that you can slowly build up more and more principal, more and more equity, more and more houses. And it's really interesting. And if you don't know where to start in terms of like a mindset, or in terms of like how to break the paradigm and break the mold of education is the only path to success, like, I want you to pick up this book, because that's what this book does perfectly. This book perfectly encapsulates how the bill of goods that we've been sold, the go to college, get a 9 to 5, get a 401k, how that is not correct, and how that is not the only path to financial freedom, and actually you will have more opportunities as an entrepreneur. And say what you want about the author, say what you want about his practices. If you don't like how he's in so much debt and then he, declared bankruptcy as a strategy to get out of it, like, say what you want. Maybe you don't think that's ethical, but I think he says a lot of great things in this, and I think it's a really inspirational story, because I don't know about you, but when I read this book, when I picked it up, I needed the message. So yeah, take that with what? Oh my God, I can't speak. Take that how you will. I'll leave a link to this book in the description. If you want to stick around the channel, thank you so much. Join my Discord if you're interested in that. Peace out.